welcome to the Joy of Performing webinar.
Good afternoon.
Welcome my esteemed panelists, Mr. Rajesh Kakkarji and Ms. Saloni Kaul. And welcome audience, and thank you for joining on the afternoon. And let's start with the another exciting Joy of Performing webinar. And let me introduce first us eminent speakers, eminent panelists here with us. We have Rajesh Kakkar, President, Head Corporate HR at Birla Corporation Limited. He has more than 3 decades of experience in cement industry. He is BE Electrical and Electronics Engineering and BE Certified Energy Auditor also. His range of experience includes project planning, execution of thermal power plants, waste, heat recovery power plants, and solar power plants projects. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for finding out.
Thank you for inviting.
Ms. Saloni Kaul, founder and chief executive of its People and President, Faridabad, and president of Faridabad Management Association. She is a passionate business transformation coach fueled by a resolute vision to serve as a trusted leadership and business advisor and strategic partner for a medium to large businesses globally. Her expertise elevates business performance by focusing people-centric strategies and integrated tools and frameworks. Her experience includes brands like Dell, EMC, Tata Infotech, and Tata Consultancy Services. Thank you, Saloni, for joining us and finding out time today.
Thank you so much, Ravi, for having me here. My pleasure.
Thank you. So before starting today's webinar, little house rules. Please, audience, you can post your questions in your Q&A section, and I'll be taking up those questions with our panelists. Okay. So let me introduce today's webinar, that is Mastering the Art of Yearly Planning and Execution in an Organization. Now, yearly planning is very important in an organization because before execution comes into place, the planning is must. And let me share a quote of Benjamin Franklin with you. Benjamin Franklin says, quote, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So we have to prepare, right? So what we are today going to hear from our eminent panelists is how they do the yearly planning and how they look forward to the execution of that planning in an organization. Okay, so let me start with Mr. Rajesh. So can you elaborate the importance of yearly strategic planning and how do you put it into execution?
Okay, yeah. Before one starts for strategic planning for the year, for any organization, you need to have mission, vision statements. Right. Then other things follow. Mm-hmm. So people sometimes say mission is first or vision comes second, but normally it is mission statement, who you are, where you are at present. Say I am a tire manufacturing company who manufacture with utmost safety and sustainability, things like that. Mission statement covers your what you actually are, and you have to touch the environment, human angle, social angle, and in that mission statement you make a mission statement for your organization which is forever. I mean, it's not that you will be achieving after 1 year that mission or something like that. So that mission statement, who you actually are, you have to make that mission statement. From that mission comes your vision. That vision statement will be where you will be in future, say after 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, where you will be. So taking guidance from that mission, you have to define your vision statement, which has to be, quantifiable, has to be consistent. It has to be verifiable. It has to be feasible. It has to be inspirational. You can say that I want to be in the span of 5 years, I'll be a most good quality tire manufacturer with following safe principles and having sustainable future. So you can define your vision where each and every aspect of your industry is covered, and you have to clearly define where you want to be in coming 3 years, 5 years, or you will define. You may say, I will be manufacturing this much quantity of tires or the product, and this will be my profitability. If you have to manufacture more, then you have to have more sales, then you have to you require raw materials and people for that. So all these things the top leadership team has to sit together and define their vision in general, which has to be concise and really definable for the coming 5 years or so. Then
Right.
comes your yearly strategy, yearly goals for that, how you will achieve that vision. So for that you have to make the strategy. So after you have made that vision statement, then you start preparing on your strategy. So whereas strategy you have to answer what actually you are doing. We are manufacturing, then who are your customers, how you are selling, why people will buy your product only. So on these things, and you have to see all these things through people, social angle, human angle, technological angle, and financial angle. And then you define your strategy, how in the coming years you will achieve those goals, which have to be, very properly, concisely defined. So that you can also ask your other business units to contribute. Everybody, all of the top leadership, every function has to sit together, and then the yearly strategy has to be made.
Thank you, sir. I think so. Quite elaborately, you have explained the planning part of it, right? And definitely it starts from mission, vision statement, and also focusing on what you want to achieve in that 5 year, and then making that yearly plan. It's quite important. Thank you, sir. Saloni, now we have heard that, yes, the planning part of it. Okay. So let us see that what are the key factors that you consider when executing the yearly strategic plan. Let us talk about a little.
Okay. So, see, planning is the most important part. To me, the most simple formula that I studied in my MBA days was PDCA. And what till date is actually something which any person can simply adopt and implement in the company. So we all know PDCA, plan, do, then check if it has really happened. And if not, then take action or the corrective action. So from a execution perspective, we are now in the do stage. So have we engaged our key stakeholders while we were actually planning? Because many a times, whatever we have planned, it may not go well. So we need to make sure that we are engaging the key stakeholders. Um, Allocation of resources, again, so important. And coming from an HR background, we always talk about that if these are the projects that we need to execute, what are the resources in terms of not just people, but also financial resources? Do we need to automate? Do we need to implement certain new processes or probably adopt any new technology that is going to implement or execute the strategic initiatives that we have decided or we have planned for? And then, while we are doing this, have we also looked at the risk part? Have we done some kind of an assessment? Because no plan will be 100% executed. We all know that. We may plan, but it will never be 100%, which means something may not happen. And we need to be ready with what are those risks that may crop up, something, some crisis, something, and how are we going to mitigate those? So I believe that in execution part, still there is a little bit of planning, which if it is done at the start of the strategy, along with it, we are able to be flawless. Once we have done this initial planning part, then comes the review. The execution is all about whether the execution is happening as per the plan. So the plan execution means until we are reviewing it and until we know what we are tracking, sab kehte hain that what gets measured gets done. So are we really measuring? Are we tracking? and are we really monitoring? So the execution becomes flawless when we are doing this. Now, the frequency at which we are reviewing also has a great role to play. So, again, have we decided strategically how frequently possible it is for us to do it? In my consulting assignments, when I tell them that you need to do a weekly review, they will put up their hands in the air. They're not possible.
Not possible.
Should we do business or should we do this?
Yeah,
So I always tell them that ultimately you have to do business. But
right.
just to make sure that you are on plan and you are on track, the review becomes so very important. And that
Mm.
is why PDC, the C part is all about the checking part.
Looking
In
part,
fact,
right.
more than just the execution of the various activities, the activities that will give us the results that we are seeking, the communication. Are people on the same page? Another very important consideration.
Mm. Very
So
important.
we may think as a small team, core team, this is what it is. But have we engaged everyone? Are
Mm.
people aware? Are people on the same page? Have they understood? Is the
Mm.
communication clear? Because only then we will get, support. And then have we just told them or have we involved them?
Important.
Involving them will tell us uh,
Mm.
what their thought process is,
Mm.
whether they are in agreement.
Mm.
See, they are close to the real work. They will
Mm.
tell us कि ये नहीं होगा, and most probably they may not even speak up because we didn't give them that environment to tell us.
Mm.
They were told to just listen, not speak.
Mm. Right.
So involving and checking for employee engagement,
Mm.
uh, flexibility, whether we are adaptable, because strategically execution means are we also ready for anything that may come in between, and how do we just adapt to that
Mm.
new set of situation that has come up.
Right.
So I believe these are very important considerations in the execution,
Education.
any annual strategic process that we should look at.
Beautiful. I'm really enjoying the conversation where Mr. Rajesh has put up the different factors which are very important for the yearly strategic planning involving social angle, including in tech, including finance, including people, and where you are sharing us that PDCA model of plan, do, check, and then action. It's very important, and I think so. These are the basis and how basis of achieving that operational excellence in an organization. And I think so. These are very important points, and I'll also not leave your engagement part, because engagement, what I have come through my experience is people understand that while creating those goals, yearly goals, that planning part, only we have to engage. But it is very important to engage on a daily basis, weekly basis, and the actual engagement means that while execution, like you said, that if they are in agreement or not. If they are not in agreement, if there is something that is going vice versa, going south, then we have to replan. And very important. Thank you. I hope my audiences would be loving this conversation, right? Going in the perfect direction. And thank you again for being here. Uh, Sir, now, Mr. Kakkar, if I can ask you, right, what frameworks do you use to execute your strategies and how it helps? People, my audience would be really excited to learn something from the Birla Corporation experience, also from your experience, also. That what are the frameworks that a corporate uses?
See, like after you have defined your vision statement and then you are trying to make strategy yearly execution plan.
Mhm.
Regarding strategy, Madam said about the communication and all that. I'll negatively put the hindrances which affect the execution of strategy.
Mm.
Usually people say you have to put it positively and so it goes well, but maybe sometimes negative words strike. The
Right.
first is we want our strategy, our goal to be aligned with all. We say that it should be in alignment.
Mm. Mm.
Once you have aligned it, it does not mean that the strategy will execute properly.
Mhm.
Because in industry, everything is not aligned. There are so many cross-functional teams. So you may be aligned, top people have aligned with business units, they have aligned with down the below. But there are certain, the cross-functional, if you are doing target of the manufacturing, lot of things are involved. HR is involved, raw material is involved, maintenance is involved. So even if you try to align everybody, this is a cross-functional thing you should not forget.
Right.
You have defined the alignments, but there will be people who will not be following that alignment. So you have to look after that cross-functional nature of it. So just defining alignment will not serve the purpose. Similarly, communicating does not mean understanding. We write emails or post something and send that communication. These are our vision. These are targets. I have experience to ask people, what is the vision of the company? People will look left and right, and we have communicated, but nobody has tried to go through it. So communication does not mean that people have understood what you want to say. So that becomes very important. Similarly, as you said, corrections are necessary. Execution, any strategy execution will find some failures in the plan. So even if you are so much strict that once I have defined that yearly target that I have to make so many targets of the tires, say, of this car, and you stick to it, maybe certain things have happened where, the car manufacturing has gone down. Maybe two-wheeler tires are now needed more. So you have to see what's happening and you have to do the course correction of that strategy. So you cannot be strict with your targets. It may look slightly contradictory, but you have to be very much aware that you have to do. That's also PDCA cycle, that course correction it comes. So that for the right execution of the strategy, that course correction is very important. That's another. Then another thing comes when we define the strategies and goals, then everybody expect that now your goals are fixed, everybody must perform. And our industry is a high performance industry. We have a good culture, it will happen. But it's not the case. There will be failures. So you have to be ready to accept failures and you have to support your team in that yes, while executing the strategy, there may be, fallbacks. You have to you have to accept that. You should not be very strict with the, if somebody is not performing, you cannot just remove him and place somebody else. You have to support that. You have to accept that targets are so aspirational that everybody is trying. So alignment, this communication, and this accepting that yes, there will be failure. This you have to agree with that. Another thing I have seen in strategy, people think that this is the top management's job. They have made the strategy. Now it will, because the strategy has been made and they are responsible, they will drive it through. It does not happen only with the top management. You have to see that the next range, the next middle management, down the management, everybody has to be a stakeholder of that. They have to take the responsibility of that. If top management has defined some strategic goals for the year, it does not mean that they are only responsible for that. You have to feel a part of it, that you are also there. You are also the part of that vision statement, the strategy making. So you cannot leave anything on the top, that it will be top driven. It cannot be only the top driven. So if I put these negatively things, so the strategy fails in these 5 points. So you have to see that then you select some framework for that, so that the strategy is properly done. Then comes how to make your goals, or what you call objectives, and then the key results. Then you define it based on some system on those vision statements, on your strategy you have made. Now after mission, vision, strategy, then will comes your objectives. And that objectives which you have to be aligned with everybody, and that then the critical thinking framework of objective and key results have to be placed.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So very insightful, and I think so that is what audience wants to hear. the different ways, like what you put up was the negative side of it, to pre-attempt how it is, how it will not be used, how it will fail, and then prepare yourself towards the positive outcome of it. And because I agree that a lot of times people, leaders also think positively and they keep on moving. But while we are planning the execution definitely, sir, thank you for bringing it up, that we need to think that yes, why it will fail. As Saloni, you also have shared that those risks, we need to understand it well in advance, and yeah, we need to follow, because these are so many moving parts, so many dynamism in itself in the planning part, and leave alone the execution. And if you combine them, that's a full uh, dynamic system that you need a framework. And thank you, sir, for sharing that the OKRs that you're using, the OKR framework. And I hope our audience can connect to it. And if anyone wants to reach out to any of our panelists or to us, please do write us. I'll share in my email ID at the end of the webinar, and please do reach out. Okay. Saloni, I'll now come to you. Okay. Now, with sir, we understood that yes, at his position, for a particular organization, what he thinks and how things would be moving. But since you are consultant and you're working for many clients, and one solution, I believe always that one solution does not fit all. So, what are those challenges that your client usually face in executing their plans, and how can they overcome? Any suggestions of yours? Anything for them?
So I thank you for that, Ravi. I work with small, medium, and large enterprises. So with the size of the organization, the challenges are also very different. In some cases, the challenge starts with a lack of communication. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine if you don't have good communication, if people are not on the same page. So there is total misalignment. What the business owner thinks, what his next level thinks, what the people on the ground think, it's totally misaligned. However, they can, as a strategy to overcome this very simple but very basic challenge and very basic problem that many clients I have seen they facing, can be resolved by ensuring that we have these sessions where we bring in all employees together. So
Mm-hmm.
something very simple like even a town hall meeting, um, where people come to know, okay, what did we achieve in the last 1 month?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What were, what did we achieve? And
Mm-hmm.
and what were the good things that happened? Who were the new people who joined us? What
Mm-hmm.
were those things that we need to be, more, we need to be concerned and we need to take certain action on?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the last 1 month, we have seen probably some trend, something which is, not good for the organization. And it's very simple things. So for very small organizations, we want to first bring everybody on the same page. Everybody knows what's really happening, and then there is some small learning nugget also that is given to them. So this challenge about poor communication can be resolved by people understanding that this is what as a whole organization we are trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we have reached, and now for this month this is our our goal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if we want to talk of a number goal, so most organizations are number driven, So what is that number goal that we are chasing? And what is that, what each one of us has to do to, get there? So this is one thing. The other thing is there is no planning for the people part. So you want to suddenly raise your numbers. You want to, achieve a certain number, and you can do it by, just leveraging your existing force. But you have thought that I'm going to add people, and then the people who have come inside the organization, they are going to help me achieve that bigger number. We
Mm-hmm.
all know that firstly, hiring takes time, then onboarding, induction, getting the person to really understand the organization and start delivering also will take time. पहले 3 महीने में ही one will see that a person will now become like fully productive.
Hmm.
First 2 to 3 months, not much will happen. So, can we can we address this? Can we make sure that we are not when we say we want to hire, the
Hmm.
person should be on board on the first of that month, if not earlier,
Right.
or the period that they are looking at. And normally, because we all plan for the 90 days, then the person should be on board and should be fully productive before the 90 days starts, that quarter starts.
Hmm.
So this is again another challenge. Sometimes the resistance is there. This is
Hmm.
also a challenge. Resistance is there.
Hmm.
Uh, and the resistance has its, the belief that, we have seen this happen in the past, that something was given, some, high goal was given, and then people were told, okay, now start. The manufacturing has to start, the vendor base has to double, or if you have a vendor base, you need to get them to invest more into their infra so they're able to give us more materials. And after all that has happened, suddenly the numbers have come down. Why?
Hmm.
Because the OEMs to whom we have to supply, their numbers have come down. So
Hmm.
now that all that elevation and production and everything, the
Hmm.
numbers have suddenly gone back to.
Right.
Now the vendors are having a problem that, so these are the resistances that people face. And they believe that, again, this will get repeated. So the person in the middle is saying that my work is now only to keep changing, keep
Hmm.
modifying. We are not making any progress because sometimes we are working forward, sometimes I'm working
Right.
backwards, because I'm
Very
trying
true.
to now adapt to what my organization wants from me.
Hmm.
And again, when the organization will ask that person that now again we need to double, they say, I can't go back to the same suppliers and vendors because they tell me last time you told me, and now, so much of our, investment has gone,
Right.
blocked because I'm not able to recover. I have made those, but you haven't given me sufficient number of orders.
Yeah.
So these are all practical, instances where people resist the change. So these are a few instances, and the when I say that the most basic, other than this, it is also about sometimes ineffective leadership.
Hmm.
The leadership at the helm, when they have too many priorities, when
Hmm.
you are juggling with too many.
Hmm.
So, what is the attention that you're giving to your team, or what is the message you're giving to your team? Sometimes you're asking them to focus on this thing, or sometimes on the other thing. So the priority is not fixed, because in the mind of the business head, it's not fixed, which means that the strategy that he thought, that's not fixed. Now there's
Hmm.
a change.
Right.
Having a core team, not uh, taking everything upon yourself, but actually working with a team and keeping them involved becomes so very important, so that they also understand that if this change is being brought, why
Hmm.
is this change happening, and so that they empathize with the organization and with the
Hmm.
leader, rather than assuming that the leader doesn't really care of the challenges that we have to face when we work with our support staff, or when we work with our partners with whom we have to collaborate to bring the results.
Very nicely put up, and very apt instances also, where you explained the whole thing. And I think so. It's very important to also understand that sometimes execution may fail due to the ineffective leadership also. And by leadership, we does not, I hope you do not only mean by leadership. At the top level, leadership is at vertical head level, leadership is at a manager level. If they are not able to focus and they are not able to reduce their priorities, or if they are not able to speak up also, because they have to speak up that there are too many priorities.
Yes, yes.
And
Because
I
I
think
would
so.
say, just like Rajesh ji said, that strategy is not the role of the top.
Hmm,
Strategy cannot be created by one person. Strategy is created by the team,
right.
by teams across the levels. So
Hmm,
similarly, even when we are talking about challenges.
Hmm.
The challenge cannot be just limited to the leader. The challenges are at every level.
At every level.
Leaders at every level will face pushback, will face
Mhm.
resistance from
Mhm.
their immediate teams, and we
Right.
have to manage it.
Hmm.
This is crucial. So
Hmm.
so even if you are a supervisor on the shop floor
Hmm.
and you are managing your team, like so smoothly, because the team has faith. The team knows
Hmm.
that, whatever we want, the supervisor will take care of it. We
Hmm.
just have to make sure that we are giving our 100% production, and we are doing
Right.
it, giving it, 100% quality.
Right. And Saloni, you've given me a very nice, I think so. Thank you for next webinar topic, because at job we always we are committed to our audience that we'll bring up exciting webinars, and I think so. Uh, this is a great thing to reflect on, whether too many priorities result into ineffective leadership. Nice one. I'll just note it down. And Mr. Rajesh, uh, have you experienced it in your experience, that if leaders are at a different level, if they are they are having too many priorities, then does it result into a very ineffective leadership? The challenges, anything that would you like to share? Any example?
Yeah, you see, if the people at critical positions, if they are not in sync with each other and they have different priorities, then the system is not going to function as you want it to be. And that's why this method of in the beginning, that's why you just don't start planning. You first define your vision statement, sit together. It
Hmm.
takes days altogether to discuss and define a strategy. So
Hmm.
that is the time when the concentrated thing comes out, that this is our the topmost priorities, not other things.
Hmm.
So the more important, the critical things are then sorted out. And
Hmm.
while executing that, people have to be in line. That's why people have found out this framework of, say, objectives and key results, OKRs. So you have to use some structured way so that everybody falls in line.
Hmm.
Otherwise, everybody has its own priorities and they have their own importance. They will say, I have priority of this work. Your work is different. So
Hmm.
that's why the structured way and the objectives have to be made in that way, which are very clearly defined. They have to be properly, the key results have to be properly measurable. And when
Hmm.
I talked of that negative way of looking in the strategy, how they fail, but
Hmm.
when we define key results or something, it should be, in a very positive way, no negativity in it. Say you should not, you should avoid, there will be only 10% failure of this product. No, you should say 90% of the product should pass. So positive vibes here have to come from the objectives, and it has to be, aspirational, achievable, to normal, blah, blah, blah. We say that has to be done. But you have to thoroughly discuss with the team so that, the top leadership
Hmm.
vision statement, strategy statement, then comes to your different business units, then it comes to your team, and then down the below, and how they make their own objectives. Maybe the key result of your boss is your becomes the objective. So you have to define so many people, working in a different, uh, maybe cultural environment,
Hmm.
environment of physical environment is also different, timings are also different. Still you have to align with now, I have found, arranging meetings on discussing that. Now, somebody may be having another meeting,
Hmm.
so people are not attending that meeting. So you
Right.
have to be, you have somebody has to take care of that job, that some person who is the coordinator, he has to take care that all the meetings have to be scheduled. Everybody is important. Every functional head is important. Every your business unit head is important.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you cannot have your meetings at your wish. So
Right.
in my experience, that's why all of the priority is different. My priority is not attending this minute. It is more important. I have to go somewhere else.
Mhm.
So these are the issues which needs to be resolved, and
Mhm.
it should be discussed in a structured way so that things go on structure. Unless otherwise you work in a structured framework, it will be anarchy altogether. Then you cannot do. Then
Yeah.
every time you will need course corrections. And course correction does not mean that every day you change your targets, your priorities.
Yeah.
So that happens, and that one has to avoid. Find a way that everybody's time is important, his priorities are important. But what company's objective is, we are aligned with that, and you have to give that definite time. That's why times have to be given. You cannot have meetings of 5 hours and together. You have to fix proper things.
Right.
So for that, you need some maybe tools, maybe framework that comes.
Very nice. Very nice. So what I heard is not just too many priorities, but also different priorities. Okay, people have to fall in line with the priorities also, then only it is going to work. So yeah, too many priorities and different priorities. Very nice. Thank you, sir.
In fact, listening to Rajesh ji, what I was, thinking of that, without the review part, without the monitoring part, to really know whether we are on track or not is just, the most basic thing that any organization or any business manager can do if he really knows where he is. But one thing that I often feel is that we don't have a culture of feedback, learning from feedback. And
Mhm.
when you do your annual appraisals, and I'm talking about now performance management here, we will give the person feedback. The manager will do that after 1 year when it has no value. So we don't
Right.
have a culture only that values feedback or values the learning from the feedback. So as business organizations, we must not just have this mechanism. We should not just establish that mechanism, but we should also make sure that we are teaching our managers how
Mhm.
to give feedback constructively in a way that actually makes the person productive, and in
Right.
a way that he doesn't come to know after 1 year that he didn't perform well.
Mhm.
But he came to know as soon as the manager noticed it.
Right.
And that way the productivity levels can go up. Now, this is one big challenge. Another big challenge that I see. If execution because of feedback, this can be itself a very important another topic for you, Ravi.
Thank you.
And again, coming back to performance appraisal, we often, in that the discussion that a manager or an employee has, we often talk about training needs.
Hmm.
So, why are we waiting for 1 year
Yeah.
for that discussion?
Yeah, I agree.
If that learning, if that the need has already been, identified
Mhm.
because a person is unable to do something well or has himself expressed that I need to, I need some support on this, then organizations must be looking at investing. The HR should look at investing
Mhm.
and equipping their employees with the necessary skills. Now,
Hmm.
whether they are the threshold competency level, whether they are exceeding competency level, whichever level a person needs to be at, but the employees, the workforce is what makes an organization go to the next level.
Hmm.
If your employees are not going to the next level, how will your organization go to the next level?
Hmm. Very important. Very important. Yeah, that planning of enhancing that skill for the execution, yeah, is very critical. Thank you, Saloni. So let me remind to our audience that we are offering one our free consultation with an expert on today's topic, that is yearly planning and execution. And there's a form we have posted on the webinar chat. Please fill that form. We'll reach out to you. Okay, taking for our conversation further. Now, the if we talk about execution without crisis, it will be biasness. Okay, so let us talk about crisis. Uh, Sir, I'll come to you. Uh, the question says that how do you prepare and manage for unexpected crisis? Means because you are advocating and you are suggesting us the frameworks or tools, right, to utilize for that planning and execution part. It's very important at an organization level, right? Now, but how do you manage the unexpected crisis? And when I say unexpected crisis, they can be internal for the large organization, but very much external factors also that derails you. So how do you prepare and how do you manage them?
Yeah, see, when we decide in a structured way, our objectives and key results, we should be very, clear whatever our key results are, or for that matter, objectives when we define, they have to be, in the sense of doable by the team.
Mm-hmm.
If something external happens, your objective should not contain if Russia and Ukraine war happens, what will happen? Now, if suddenly this strike happens, then I cannot do anything. So
Right.
objectives should be controllable by the team, and that is what I feel.
Okay.
So there may be outside effects on your targets, on your objectives,
Hmm.
but the objectives which you are making should be controllable by the team. Otherwise, everybody will be looking, if price changes, what I will do. If that happens, what I will do.
Hmm.
What you can do, what you can control, that should be your objectives. Now
Hmm.
you are saying if suddenly something happens,
Hmm.
so that's where our structured way of working comes.
Hmm.
Suppose price of fuel goes high.
Hmm.
Now it has gone high, and from the day one, it has started. It has affected your cost. So your
Hmm.
team should know how much is it affecting.
Hmm.
So that regular exchange of information, that yes, and what is its impact on the target which I took,
Hmm.
how to mitigate it.
Hmm.
If diesel price has gone high, can I use coal, which is simpler in my process?
Hmm. Hmm.
If this raw material has gone high, can I use another material which is cheaper? Now that, because nowadays disruption is happening every month or so.
And
Even
also,
government policies happen. Sometimes, the grid power will be cheaper. Sometimes your thermal power is cheaper. Sometimes your import of coal is banned. Sometimes it is cheaper. It's changing. So
hmm.
you have to modify your process, your objectives accordingly.
Hmm.
So that can be only done if you have some framework, some system
Hmm.
where you are
Right.
measuring and communicating to your people.
Hmm.
So that's why that regular check-ins
Hmm.
comes in, where not only at the end of the quarter, in the middle of the quarter, you have to tell your team there should be way
Hmm.
of telling them, informing them that this is the impact. So that only happens when you are regularly, monitoring, tracking
Hmm.
your objectives and KRs, how they are impacting out from the outside as
Hmm.
well as from the your inside. Some plant breakdown happens, then what we will do? Do you have any standby machinery for that? If somewhere that sales have gone down due to some reason, so another type of product can I make or
Hmm.
increase in other area? So that
Hmm.
can only happen when we are sharing that. Now,
Hmm.
how to share that information from every function on
Hmm.
a platform where one can read it. So one needs such type of arrangement where information is transparently available and its impact can be seen. So
Hmm.
that's the way to mitigate these changes. Otherwise, if you set yearly targets, then after a year you will know that the cost of fuel has impacted you so much.
Hmm.
Maybe the if team would have known, the lowest most employee would have known, he
Hmm.
would have changed something in process or used some alternative thing to do that work. So
Hmm.
that information timely conveying to him is important.
It's
And
important.
you cannot just be sending mails and doing all that communication. You need some structured way. So
Yeah.
that's where different products come where you can monitor your objectives, key
Hmm.
results
Hmm.
regularly. You check in, tracking it, you are course correcting it, you are talking to people, and
Hmm.
then your performance also. You are, I'm not connecting this with performance management system. So I view it as a different, and this is a working thing. Because if you start performance, then many other things will come in. You
Welcome.
know, the soft factors, skills, punctuality, behavior,
Yeah.
you know, other things will come in. So that's a separate thing. But giving of the feedback of the performance of
Right.
that objective is very important,
Very
because
important.
we have to be very specific in following these targets. So on
Right.
that specific target which he has selected as his objective or key results, that feedback is very important, that should be very regular and
Mm.
course correction to be done. So
Right.
not at the end of the year, but
Mm.
manage doing appraisal is a wide subject which takes other
Yeah.
things
Right.
also, which she knows much better than us. So
Yeah, she's an expert. Yeah. Thank you, Rajesh. I think so. Yeah, it's very important that how we look and prepare for these crises. And when I say that, look, it is the mindset. I cannot control coal prices. I cannot control diesel prices. Okay, but how I can mitigate them? And I think the Saloni has also touched upon the same area by saying that certain kind of risk assessment should be done. And if we can combine these things for the execution, yeah, we can be so much agile that yes, if we see that something happening in advance, we prepare it for advance, and then definitely yes, we can uh, take care of that. Soloni, would you like to add anything to it? Manage unexpected crisis?
Okay, I was just typing the answers. So many questions
Yeah, yeah.
in the panel. Okay.
Right.
So my view of looking at a crisis is that crisis will never, tell you that I'm coming. So you have to be prepared
Yes.
beforehand. And from your past, you have some lessons.
Hmm.
You know, today, the world has a lesson.
Hmm.
We have all experienced,
Yes.
a big crisis in our lives.
Hmm.
Similarly, businesses have also experienced crisis in the past.
Hmm.
So my take is that have we learned from our previous crisis?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I can say that many organizations repeatedly face the same crisis and still do nothing about it.
Hmm.
This is my uh, only those organizations who are forward looking, who are progressive, they not only conduct a thorough review of what the crisis, was all about.
Hmm.
They even look at what went well.
Hmm.
Even in something that was a crisis, something went well. What was it? That is identified. And
Hmm.
obviously, what didn't go well, we already know that. And from that, we know what our areas of improvement are.
Hmm.
What can we do to now, based on the lessons we have learned, how
Hmm.
can we actually integrate? How can we improvise
Hmm.
the way we are conducting our business today so
Hmm.
that we don't face the same crisis? So,
Right.
our future crisis management strategies must always heed the lessons that we have learned from the past. That's one.
Right.
When we're doing our strategy meetings, we should also have this, you know, strategy meetings run into days and days and days, just like Rajesh ji said. You
Hmm.
cannot have one day strategy meet and be done over it.
Hmm.
You will be forming teams, you'll be following so many CFTs, you will be having themes, and then those people will be working on those themes. And then everybody will come with the work they have done into a 1, 2, 3 day strategy meetings in which they will be now discussing section by section, module by module, whatever they have, you know, incorporated as part of the strategy.
Hmm.
We must have a section on identifying risks,
Hmm.
potential risks.
Potential risk. Yeah.
Because if we don't, like I said, na, just if we don't measure, it doesn't get done. So
Hmm.
to mitigate, we must identify still, like hum SWOT karte hain. Everybody does SWOT. There is no organization who doesn't do SWOT. But when
Hmm.
we say threat,
Hmm.
have they really looked at the potential risks?
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
they do PESTEL, have they really looked at ki external risks kya hai?
Hmm.
Those
Hmm.
things have to be brought into the strategy meeting. Very important.
Hmm.
because only then the strategic interventions that we are deciding for the organization for the ensuing year will
Hmm.
actually be, where the risk has already been thought of.
Hmm. Hmm.
Certain organizations go to the level where they will do scenario planning. If
Hmm.
this happens, then who will do what? They have
Hmm.
identified team members. Now, in all organizations, we have something called safety committees, something called CRT. The members are already identified that
Hmm.
if there is a fire in the complex or in the workplace, who will do what?
Hmm.
You cannot do without. You will have a safety manual, you will have a safety officer, you will have CRT members, and they exactly know what they need to do. In
Hmm.
fact, every employee knows where do I need to assemble when I
Hmm.
hear that siren.
Yep.
Or to just leave everything and assemble at
Hmm.
the assembly point.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think to identify, to establish what are those triggers that
Hmm.
are indicative of a potential risk.
Hmm.
Those discussions we need to have. Of course, having a crisis management team goes
Hmm.
without it. Having clearly defined roles and responsibilities goes without it. And then crisis means, are you flexible? Are you, you
Hmm.
know, um, you know, like if this doesn't happen. Now, when I say crisis, doesn't mean that there's a fire, right? But not literally. But yes, there is a fire someplace.
Right.
Something has
Right.
gone wrong, so
Yes.
there is a fire.
Yes, that's
So
right.
how can we build more flexibility into the way we are planning so that we
Hmm.
can accommodate those unexpected events? Have
Right.
we ourselves stretched so much that 2% scope bhi nahi hai, you know,
Yeah.
or like we've gone like probably 10% more. There's no margin. There's no margin at all.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
developing probably some kind of a contingency plan. Uh,
Hmm.
again, and the best part is just learn from your past
Yes.
and build on it
Build. Yeah.
so that
Thank
your
you.
business continuity BCP,
Yes.
business continuity plans,
Ah,
they have to keep getting updated.
right, 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 right. Right. Thank you. And I think so, audience would be loving the conversation. And this is what happens when we bring in two very experienced leaders who have achieved and worked so hard. Where we are hearing that, yes, change your mindset of looking at the crisis, how you can deal with them. And then where we are also hearing that organizations need to learn from their crisis, because every organization uh, have a kind of a crisis, I'll say library, if I can put up, Saloni. They know that yes, this is some kind of a earlier crisis we have faced. The magnitude of that crisis may change, and they can learn from the industry, they can learn from the society, right? They can learn from their experience, and they have to create a plan for it, so that at least whether we'll succeed during the crisis or not, the time will tell, but at least we are prepared well in advance. Thank you. Thank you. There are a lot of questions. Okay, I'll pick a question of Ravi
Yeah.
Sharma. He says that is one-on-one meeting with each member is mandatory. What to keep in mind while conducting this meeting? How to start and end this meeting? So, very brief answers. Saloni, I'll put this question to you first.
Yeah.
Very brief, looking at our time right now.
Yes, yes, certainly. So if this meeting is supposed to be I'll assume it is a performance meeting. That's why we are having it one on one. If
Mhm,
you have to give good feedback, do it in public. If you
mhm,
have to give feedback which is meant for corrective action, something which the person needs to improve upon, then do it constructively and do it in private.
mhm,
One on one is important.
mhm,
Why? What could be the other purposes of having a one on one meeting would be to also check how things are going with the employee.
mhm,
New? Is he settled in? Does he need any support? Are there any learning plans that he has created for him? How, as a manager, you can support him?
mhm,
Ask those questions also one on one
mhm.
means that you are giving the person, you're actually giving your time to him and you care
Right.
for that person's growth within the organization.
Mhm, mhm.
So, yes.
Yes.
And what to keep in mind? Like, do not get distracted.
Mhm.
start and end, make sure that if you have scheduled half an hour, you
Mhm.
know, he also knows and you also know, and you start on time, end on time. Always have conduct meetings in a good environment where you're not going to be, distracted and or interrupted.
Very
I
nice.
think that's
Thank
pretty.
you. Ravi, if you want the elaborated discussion, please do fill the form. We will reach out to you. Thank you, sir. Very interesting question from Manisha Mehta. How to avoid or handle cross-functional team conflicts while working for company objectives? Very important question. Please, in brief. Sir, you are on mute. Sir, you are on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You cannot avoid this once human psychology is there. You will be having, tussles between cross-functional teams and all that. In that, HR can help. You have to, build up a team where you can do the psycho sort of analysis also, enneagram or 360-degree feedback. So these things should be done. You can know the individual psychology. Sometimes, you can shout on some person, he will not feel anything. He
Mhm.
will be happier if boss is, shouting at him. कि आज कुछ तो अच्छा boss से interaction हुआ. Some people may not even take slight remark from you.
Right.
So when you have to deal in cross-function teams, you should know, you have to deal with each person separately.
Hmm.
Somebody will always, small problem will say, आज तो पूरा stoppage हो जाएगा अगर ये नहीं हुआ. And somebody with a larger problem is seeing that it is going to happen, he will say, there is something, it may stop, the machine may stop. So
Hmm.
you should know as a team member that what weightage is to be given to the words one is saying and how he's feeling, what is his cultural background. So that, while HR can help in analyzing that, you have to know the people around you. You have so that exercise of what usual HR department does, if these things are being done, then some camaraderie is built up, and then people know each other, how to talk, how to and then there are special, you can take courses how to negotiate with people, how to all these things. But yes, you need some training, you need intervention, and when this learning process is there, then other person also realizes about his personality. When his analysis is done, then he knows that I am always, negative personality. So these things then you have to manage, and one learns with experience. It is better to, you know, teach them. If you teach your people, if you train them, people will learn faster. Otherwise, I will take 10 years to learn how to handle people. If somebody is telling me, guiding me, I may take 2 to 3 years only. That's my experience. A formal teaching of it really helps out of the way. Your outlook towards things change at once after that course you have attended. Or
Mhm.
otherwise, you will take years of your experience, and by that time you have gone white hairs like me, then it's of no use. So it's like,
Very nice.
I don't
Very
know whether I
good
have
answer.
answered the question or not.
No, I think so. You answered it in a very different way, where you first of all said that avoid, forget avoid. It is going to happen. Wherever there are humans, it is going to happen. First of all, accept that, and then to learn how to deal with the people, and that's a whole I'll say curriculum, whole exercise that we need to do. But it's better to get into that kind of an exercise, okay, and then only we can understand how to resolve those internal conflicts also while defining those objectives and those results. And we are to, yeah, Saloni, you want to say
I'd
what?
like to also
Please.
answer this question. So absolutely, we should not avoid. And so why does a conflict occur? Because there is a different perspective. There are two people. The number is six. The other person says the number is nine. Yeah, we have seen this visual somewhere. So it's just a matter of a different perspective.
Right.
Now, when two teams who are on other side of the table, when they are unwilling to listen, that is
Mhm.
when conflict occurs. listening skill is so important. If you
Mhm.
can teach people how to listen, unfortunately, people don't know how to listen.
Mhm.
If we can listen to the person and get what that person is trying to say and
Mhm.
be compassionate, because the person is working for the company's objective. You are also working for the
Mhm.
company's objective. So,
Mhm.
listening is one sure short way. When you allow people, you listen to them, you are able, and you actually, you want to see what is their view.
Mhm.
Learn and learning how to have a productive conversation,
Mhm.
not where you are, shouting at each other. I think
Mhm.
these are few things that we need to get better at, that will help us in handling any kind of conflict management. And if a manager is supposed to address, what will the manager do? He will
Mhm.
also do this only. He will listen to one person, then he will
Mhm.
listen to the other person. So listening is so important. And
Right.
they are both present, just like the judge, right? In the court. Both
Yeah.
people are talking and both people can listen to each other.
Mhm.
So listen and you will be able to resolve
Mhm.
quickly.
Right. Right. Thank you, Manisha. I hope your question has been answered. And Mr. Rajesh and Saloni, can we extend this because the conversation is going very beautifully, right? If I can extend this webinar and take your 5 minutes more, would it be fine?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I think we have
No.
one more question.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Uh, so let us talk about the technology. We are living in a technology era now. Without technology, and already Rajesh ji has emphasized on utilizing the frameworks and technology. Okay, let me keep my question very specific. Okay, can technology help foster a culture of accountability? Accountability is a key. Okay, and ownership. Because without that accountability and ownership, ownership is very broad, makes people responsible. Okay, so how can technology, Saloni, if you'd like to answer, how can technology help in that?
Yeah, absolutely. Technology is a boon. What we used to do manually and what we can now do with technology, much, much more faster. And
Mm,
yes, it can help us in building, fostering this culture. Imagine when we didn't have tools like Asana or Trello or even Jira. They all got created for project management so that teams could collaborate effectively.
mm,
um, Today, organizations want to know, how can we leverage uh, productivity of employees and get them to, and we should be able to know.
mm,
Otherwise, people are doing whole day meetings and whole day reporting, and they're
mm.
not working. Why? Because they're whole day in meetings and they're whole day only creating reports. So
Right.
instead, if we have technology where
Mm,
the actual work is being done and just updated by people from their ends, and the manager and the management comes to know what has been achieved, wouldn't that be a better way? So yes, technology can definitely help. You look at so many communication platforms, you have so many in-house messenger tools, for example, where forget WhatsApp and forget other messengers. You look at Microsoft, for example. Again, these are all real-time communication. And imagine how fast and smooth the work has been, that when you can't track somebody
mm,
because he's not picking the phone, not picking the mobile, but on this communication platform, they're supposed to be there 100%. So
mm,
yes, absolutely. And again, we were talking about performance management. To be able to manage the performance and know really whether it is on track, or whether the whatever was planned has been achieved or not, or completed or not. Again, if you have a technology, if you have a tool, it makes it so much more simpler and easier,
mm,
without, like I said, without just a person creating reports and reports, and actually not utilizing that time for the real work. So
mm,
today, when we talk of performance management, the technology can take care of all your goal setting, your check-ins, your feedback, your
mm,
second level, skip level, everything technology is taking care of. And if we had to do that manual, the poor HR would have to go from table to table to table to table to 1,000 people. And then even then that cycle of appraisal would not have been completed,
Completed.
which is just once a year. And
Right.
even from my experience, like for so many years, it used to take months and months and months for the
Hmm.
HR department to actually complete the appraisals, because we would be pushing paper. We should
Hmm.
be saying, okay, please do this, please do this. And then those regular checkups. So yes, technology has really made life much, much, easier. And there will be so many more ways, whether it is learning and development platform. So much, yeah. Today we have recognition systems also on platforms. So
Yes.
yeah, technology is a great boon.
And yeah, and I'm sure that AI in future is going to help us in positive ways.
Already helping us.
Yeah, thank you. Sir, I'd like to come to you and understand your expectations from the technology when we say that how we can leverage technology and tools to streamline the planning and execution. So what is lot of tools are giving you lot many things, okay? But what is your expectation sitting at that leadership position?
See, nowadays, the technology which is coming, I think now we are in that phase of technology where we are really able to, get something out of it. You started from, before COVID, there was this MS Teams and these things were not there. And there was, you can, as a software, Excel started, and then PowerPoints, and there is a negative points of PowerPoints also. People are busy in only making, presentations, and actual work done is less. How to, present it beautifully. The time goes waste in it. I once heard that American defense has banned PowerPoint presentations because if you're displaying strategy and only taking time in beautifying that, then it is a time wastage. But now I find with the advent of this, cloud-based softwares and this AI coming
Mhm.
as Madam said, in performance management systems also, where you can record the appraisals, where you can define your targets and what has been achieved, and then insights on it, the analytical data analysis of that. It shortens your time of appraisal and it helps you. It gives you some basic data on
Hmm.
which you can, look without any emotion. This is a hardcore data which will come. Then
Hmm.
comes another soft skill parts of it that is separate. So, but in daily working where we want the strategy which we made for our year, and not at the end of that year, we don't want to review it. We want the review every quarter. So
Hmm.
that way the goals can be set nowadays. Softwares are available where you can do it like
Hmm.
we are doing it on job. So
Hmm.
you do the quarterly setting of your targets, which is transparent to all,
Hmm.
and people can see what, and it can inspire you also that that person has done, he has achieved that. At least to start with, what others are doing across the business units,
Hmm.
across the pan India, what people are doing, and
Hmm.
they are putting their, once you have to put data others to see, it has to be right. Otherwise, the people, you cannot put it wrongly. And that is the way where you are on a simple platform, your manager can see it. I sincerely believe that after some times, these data will be automatically analyzed and dashboards will be prepared for the CEOs to be seen. It may take time, but it will give at least some analysis of the raw input coming from different angles. It is not, passing by the papers or somebody is collating it. So that way, the technology will definitely help in monitoring, targeting, tracking, and uh, appraisal system or performance management. So we are more interested in two parts to it: uh, appraisal of the person, how he is doing. Another is the work what was to be done. So first interest is of the work, we will appraise afterwards, but work should be defined and it should help us in having PDCA cycle. It gives, when I give the feedback, it is there. So one It's not only on PowerPoint we are making and showing after 2 months. It is immediately available and feedback is given, check-in is there. And you can even on that platform, you can share your, you can recognize somebody's efforts, others will see. So that communication also becomes so much transparent and easier. People, so slowly people will, I think, use it because all these things are now available on mobile also. Sometimes I feel everything is on mobile. What will happen?
Yeah.
But okay, it helps. It depends on one whosoever wants to use it for
Yes.
their professional use, personal use. But all tools are available and they are good. I mean, it will help certainly.
Thank you. Thank you for appreciating the technology people and also sharing us your needs. We'll definitely look forward to work on it. And definitely, yes, we are in the era of that app. I agree that slowly and steadily, many things at a consumer level have moved on to mobile. I'm sure at a business level also, it's just a matter of time that we'll move to mobile. I think
Yeah,
so.
all attendance, leaves,
Yes, these
what
things are already there.
teleworking,
Yeah.
all are on mobiles.
All are
So
mobile, yeah. Yes, I agree. We have already crossed our time limit. So I will. Should I take one more question and then end the webinar? And that's a very nice question. So, how do you ensure that the yearly strategic planning process is inclusive? This is the word why I'm picking this question to end this webinar. So, how do you ensure that the yearly strategic planning process is inclusive and considers inputs from various levels within the organization? So would you like to share your thoughts, brief thoughts, and then Saloni, I'll please share yours also,
Yeah.
sir?
Actually, I answered on the chat, but I can repeat it.
Okay. Sir, you're on mute.
sorry. Yeah, when you are making the strategy, the vision statement is made by the top leadership, it is made. But once you have to make the strategy, you have to discuss among yourself at various levels. So at a corporate level, you discuss, and then at your business units, there are various business units, they can discuss each, and usually it happens in a non structured way. But once you decide that yes, you are now, this is the time before the start of the year, I am having a strategy meeting. So that vision statement and the aspirational vision which you have for the coming years and for this year in particular, you have to share with your team and ask their views from them. So that way, if every function from their side, they will contribute, they will discuss among their business units, and then they participate and give their ideas. So this can be done. It definitely, you have to ask many people, not a single strategy person can decide. You cannot assign strategy to one person that he is a strategy person. No, he can give you some innovative ideas, but for having a strategy, you need to discuss on your vision statement how to achieve it. Somebody will say you increase sales like this, somebody will say you market it, somebody will say digital market it, somebody will say no, newspapers will do. So when everybody gives their ideas, and in a you have to set some formal structure of getting that information and then discuss, and in one meeting it will not happen. So you have to set target that within this we'll meet, and then you share that. Again, that PDCA cycle comes, people give their feedbacks. It's like that. And that's where everything will be inclusive in that. And you have to be very clear that strategy, when you make it, it is very concise, because you have to run a institution and organization. You cannot just say that we will produce maximum, we will be very good in safety. You have to set your targets, and each and every function, safety function will set the targets. If I want to increase sales, I have to increase manufacturing. If I have to increase manufacturing, then I have to procure raw material. So if I have to procure raw material, or maybe new units are needed, then you need manpower to, man it. So all functions are involved. You have to tell them, and then they will make their own strategies, how they will do it, how they will be future ready for it. So
Mhm.
after you do it, then it is a churning process. It does not happen in a day. That's what I feel.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Saloni, quickly.
In fact, the way strategy actually happens varies from organizations to organization.
Mhm.
And in the way I have been teaching strategy to my clients or coaching them over the past 12 years, even that has evolved. So, see, when you know that, let's say the business is what it is, and these people have no idea of strategy, they don't even know what strategy is. So
Hmm.
then you have to do something very different, something very basic. So you tell them, okay, that what is it that you want to achieve in the next 1 year? Because you can't, teach them the big words or the big, um, buzzwords.
Hmm.
So they will come out with, okay, this is what we are doing. And then you actually get them to start owning that if at a functional level, this is what you did last year and this is what you want to do this year, then how do you actually make sure that it is going to get executed? What
Hmm.
are those ways in which this year it will definitely happen
Hmm.
based on us learning from the past?
Hmm.
So every year when people say that we want to do 20% more, so
Hmm.
what is this based on last year? So everything that we do in our life is कि पहले से better करना है.
Hmm.
So whatever we did last year, we want to do better this year. So they
Hmm.
pick up something from there, which is like we are again relying on the past. But
Hmm.
when we talk of aspirational goals, when we talk about the bhags, the BHAGs,
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
are talking about the future. We are not talking about the past. And
Hmm.
hence the baggage is left behind. Now we want to create a new world, a new future, a
Hmm.
future which is more happy, more joyful, more क्या कहेंगे, big in terms of the vision that we have, probably dreamed for us or for the business. So
Right.
between these two, when you look at strategy, people forget that the organizational culture is what will either make the strategy successful
Hmm.
or eat it up.
Right.
Right? If your culture is not there, right there where what it should be, how much good your strategy on paper may look like, it
Hmm.
will happen
Hmm.
because the culture is not going to make it. The culture will make sure it doesn't happen. So, are
Hmm.
you working on strategy or are you working on culture?
Hmm.
Actually, you need to work on both.
Hmm.
One is guiding you and one is driving you.
Hmm.
Guidance भी चाहिए and drive भी करना है. So both have to work in tandem. The
Hmm.
right culture will make sure that your strategy actually gets executed. And
Hmm.
who are the creators of strategy? Who are the creators of culture? Everybody builds culture, everybody is driving and executing strategy. So
Hmm.
ultimately, while a handful of people who are handpicked, in my answer, I had mentioned that invite representation from all functions so that you're not missing out on people.
Hmm.
Look at your top performers, look at your high potentials because they are different. Look at your key people,
Hmm.
they are ahead of other people. So we
Hmm.
want people who are already ahead of other people to come and share their thoughts, share
Hmm.
what they want, what they feel, and
Hmm.
what they think. And
Hmm.
make sure that sometimes in those segments, you may also invite your key customer.
Hmm.
आप अपने की सप्लायर को भी इन्वॉल्व कर सकते हो अपने स्ट्रैटेजी मीट में
Hmm.
because can you really operate alone? No, you have to sell to someone, you have to buy from someone. Then
Hmm.
how come they are not part of your strategy?
Hmm.
So assumptions make strategy fluffy, but
Hmm.
when you work with hard numbers, people who really are dedicated, committed, and well-meaning, and strategy is a beautiful place to build bonds.
Hmm.
So go off-site and do strategy meetings.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you. So basically, what we heard that inclusivity is really important while planning that strategy, but also whom we are including to plan the strategy from top down. That is also quite important. Okay, high potential, high performer people, and what we are. And though I
Strategy is
would,
like this.
yes,
This
yeah.
is where it gets built, like this.
Yeah, beautiful. I'll just like to take one more question from Amit Gupta. He says that what to do when strategy implementation involves too many people or many people. Sir, would you like to? Interesting. Because in the larger organization, sometimes it happens.
Strategy will always involve too many people. All people are involved, all functions are involved. So that's why, the structured way of
Yes.
doing things is there.
Right.
Otherwise, you cannot just send email to the people कि ये strategy है, कल से इस पे काम शुरू कर दो. वो तो
Right.
करते हैं तो वैसा होगा नहीं. So
Yeah.
you have to be in a structured way where you have to, where, as Madam said, learning and the development also becomes a part of the strategy. It has to be. Whosoever makes the strategy, you will find in good companies, this learning and development of people will be that part of the strategy.
Absolutely.
If you're starting a new unit or hiring a new people, it has to be there. You have to be ready to handle those things. So you have to eat the elephant bit by bit. पूरा स्ट्रक्चर एक एक कॉर्नर में बनाना पड़ेगा तब जाके होता है. टू
Exactly.
मेनी पीपल है तो है, लेट इट बी. गूगल के कितने आदमी हैं
Right.
करते हैं, so they are doing it in a structured way. We have to learn, in a disciplined way of working. When we use these softwares or the methodological these things, then there is a discipline. Everybody has to, somebody can say मैं तो 9 बजे मीटिंग करूंगा, somebody saying मैं तो 12 बजे करूंगा. ऐसा नहीं.
Right.
That some structure is defined, there is methodology of working, there is some check-in cycles, you have to follow that. And उतना मेहनत तो लगेगा, otherwise तो फिर होगा नहीं. So too many people will always be there. Structured way of working where you really involve everybody, take their views, outsiders' view also. Maybe some customers will be able to tell about your product. We want
Yes.
this type of product,
Yeah.
not this type. We need this type of product. So you may try to incorporate in your strategy, in your objectives, that yes, I will increase the production of this type of product because it has more people desire that. You get every marketing company, they take feedbacks, how this is tasting, how it is. So many people always, there is
Yes.
strategy तो
Yeah.
आदमी के काम नहीं है.
I agree. Yeah, we need to have those structures, those tools in place to be disciplined and motivated also.
People feel that you cannot teach me. I am MBA, I have done engineering. ऐसा नहीं होता है. You on teaching,
It's
coaching,
continuous.
mentoring matters a lot. One
Yeah.
has to go through it and then feel the change.
Yes.
It is there. It has to be.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Saloni, very quickly, Amit has also said that sometimes it is difficult to manage the change. How do you address that resistance from people? How to manage that?
See, employee value proposition. People come to work because they get something when they come to the workplace. Similarly, employer also gets something from the people. As a manager of people, as a manager, when you have a relationship with your team, there's clarity of what is being expected. That expectation setting is where it all starts. But if you just set the expectation at the beginning of the year, and then during the year there is no conversation that's happening, and no bonding or no regular interaction is happening, uh, there can be some distance between what you are doing, what the team is doing, and whatever the team is delivering. So my only submission here is that try and keep these meetings as frequent as possible with the entire team. Keep them up to date as to what is happening. Sometimes we have information which we don't share with the team because they don't need to know, or why to stress them, though that is never the real reason. We say they don't need to know, so we don't tell them. But if we keep our teams informed and updated of what the scenario is, what is really happening in the organization, because you have the visibility that they don't, they will always feel that, we are, they will always have this alignment automatically being formed without you having to really work hard for it, because you have kept them updated. And then when things change, it may be a drastic moment of change, for them if they were not aware that pishle 2 months say what was really happening, because no decision is suddenly thrust upon people. It is a series of things that has happened that leads to an organization to take certain decisions. And therefore when we just announce that decision, people are saying, oh, what happened? Because they were not actually involved, they were not updated. So when I talk about the town hall, or when I talk about having frequently meetings between the manager and the teams, it is all about that the transparency and the relationship building. And when you do that regularly as a manager, the teams will be much more aligned with you. The teams follow the leader. So if you are the leader, they will follow you. So you have to have you need to build your leadership so that you are able to communicate and you're able to lead people better. So you will not face these issues then.
Right. Thank you. I hope, Amit, your questions have been answered. And thank you, Rajesh and Saloni, to give us extra time, okay, to extend the webinar. Thank you a lot for the beautiful webinar. Okay, and thank you, audience, for being here. And I hope you've enjoyed the webinar. We'll be back with another exciting webinar very soon. Okay, looking forward. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Saloni.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh ji. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.